struggled to sleep Sunday night, knowing that we were getting down on Monday to join Jim. Proper buzzed up. I love it on this lake, and this time of year, you know, there's plenty of big fish and they're feeding.
Yeah, I got the rods out about 8:30 that night, and 11 o'clock at night I was on the phone to Lou telling him I'd got an absolute corker of a 36 pounder in the landing net. It was a fish I was fortunate enough to catch a couple of weeks ago, and it was just an incredible fish and filled me with confidence for the rest of the trip, really.
Driving to the lake on the Monday morning, it's only a 20-minute drive for me from my house. Jim rings up and he's like, "You ain't gonna believe this. I've got this scaly fish in the net, one that I've wanted for years. It's a fish that Darryl Peck actually caught a few years ago from this lake." And as soon as he said it was that fish, I was like, this is going to be immense, because I'd been looking at these photos with Darryl holding this fish every weekend, hoping to catch that fish. And yeah, Jim went and caught it literally with us 10 minutes away from the lake. We've arrived. Jim's got a massive grin on his face, buzzing as you would be, and yeah, there in the net was a 40-year-old scaly long. Like, if you was going to design the perfect carp for me, it was there in Jim's net.
Can't believe it. I really can't believe it. 34 pound of absolutely incredible big pit mirror. It's one I've wanted for a long time. It's one that you don't see very often, definitely doesn't get caught very often, and I feel ridiculously privileged to have been able to catch it. Such an incredible creature. I'm absolutely blown away with this one.
Right, Jim, you've just put back one of the best looking carp in the lake, probably in this area, if not the country. What made you plot up here last night? What was the reason that you've decided to fish this swim?
Well, obviously this is my spring-summer water, so I've obviously been putting a bit of effort in over the last few weeks and months. It's an area that's been seeing bait regularly. I didn't get down till later than I'd planned yesterday as well, even though I still beat you, obviously.
By a whole night.
I got down later than I planned, so I didn't get the time that I wanted to have a full look at the lake. You know, it's in excess of 100 acres. You know, if you're going to do it properly, you're talking hours to do it properly, not literally like an half-hour quick look or what have you. So new bait had been going in the area, seen fishing it recently, so I decided to set up on it for last night even. And then that gives me the opportunity to get and look if I hadn't have been successful. So 2 fish from this swim.
Yep. Does that mean you're going to fish here tonight, or what would you normally do? Would you still be looking for a move, or would you just think that they're here? With there being so few fish in such a big expanse of water, what's the thought process with that?
For me, the thought process, we're at the time of day where the sun's up, the temperature's up. I think bite time's gone for the day. So without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to go for a look. I'm always going to go for a look. It's such a big, vast, open expanse of water. You might only be looking for one sign, one sighting, one show, whatever. If I sit on my hands all day, I'm not going to see that. So I'll always reel in and I'll always go looking. I think you've always got a couple of hour window when the chances are so limited that you're better off looking and being proactive and getting out there and trying to find them as opposed to sitting on your hands. So.
Well, at the end of the day, I need to find somewhere to fish tonight anyway, so I'm going to be making some disturbance out on the water, so it probably makes sense to do that at the same time as each other.
Definitely.
Obviously, as you've already caught, I get shotgun if we find any fish first.
Yeah, all right, yeah, I'll go along with that one, mate. I'll go along with that one just this once then.
Without further ado,
Just get on and get on.
just go and find some fish.
Definitely. The lake's probably in excess of, it's in excess of 100 acres. I think it's nearer 120, and there's 4 real distinct areas of the lake. There's the main body of the lake, which is the bit we're in at the minute, which you can see is a massive whole bit of water. And we've then got the ski straight, which is connected to the top end of the main body of the lake. Ski straight's similar sort of length to this section of the lake, but considerably narrower. And then off the end of the ski straight, you've got the dog leg, and then you've got the new lake at the back of the dog leg. You can't see all of the lake from any one point, is probably the point I'm trying to make, just because of the nature of it, be it the size and how the lake is designed. So you get a good southwesterly spring up for the first time in 6 weeks, there's 3 corners it could be blowing into. So that obviously increases the number of areas that you need to go when you're looking and searching for the fish. So like I say, it's 4 very distinct areas. For very few fish. I reckon probably 65 tops, maybe a few more, maybe a few less. You never see them all. Doesn't get loads and loads and loads of pressure, but yeah, it makes it a challenge.
I secured a ticket for this lake back at the start of May. I've fished 10 nights since then over about a 5-week period, so basically every weekend. It's been really good. Because I'm friends with Jim and I've been coming down to see Jim fishing on it the last few years, I feel like I sort of hit the ground running a little bit because I had some background knowledge about the lake and the areas that the fish spend some time in and stuff like that. Basically, the first trip I did, I went out in the boat looking for the fish. Never caught anything that first trip, but before I packed up, I went for a look and I spooked a 40-pound fish off of a spot that was glowing and clouded up where that fish had been feeding, and put some bait on that. Came back the next week and caught fish off of it. For some reason, I generally get quite lucky when it comes to going on venues, and I don't know why, but yeah, I seem to have this like pretty good habit of catching some of the bigger fish in the lake quite quickly. Some lakes have been the opposite for me, and it's took me a long time to try and catch the bigger fish, but generally for some reason I've been quite fortunate, and this lake kind of followed that trend. So I think it was my 3rd fish from here, was potentially the biggest fish in the lake, sort of the biggest one that's been caught in recent years. Fish they call one-eye, at just over 45 pounds. Incredible fish, like really old, big scales on its back, like a typical dink strain fish. Totally blown away, and it's just an incredible fish.
Right, we've been out in the boats and had a good look round. We've seen a few fish up in the ski straight area, up in a really heavily weeded part of the lake. They look like they're enjoying the sunshine up there, and there is clearly a few fish there, which is always a good sign on a low stock lake. What I've done is I've prepped up a bit of bait so I can go up and bait a few areas up there that are obvious feeding spots in areas that have been having bait trickled into them over the last couple of weeks. I'm not overly sure whether I'm going to move or not as yet, and the reason I say that is I've seen fish show behind where I've been fishing and where I had a bite last night, and ironically we had a fish show literally 5 minutes after I brought the rods in, so we could go out and look and try and find the fish. What I've done is I've prepped up a mix of bait that I'm going to go and trickle into a few of the spots up there, and that mix is what we've got here, which is a party mix which has got hemp, tares, tiger nuts, darry, maples, red and yellow maize, and there's also a good quantity of 16 and 12mm krill in there as well, which has been soaked in krill liquid with an added bit of rock salt. And what you get there is you get a variety of sizes and scents and smells which will invite everything to the party basically. So roach, rudd, tench, carp, everything that swims in the lake will feed on the spots where that's been introduced, and it will just keep those areas fresh and active. And what I'm looking to achieve by that is just to prep them up really. So if I do decide to move, all I need to do is get hook baits and a light scattering of bait in the areas, and basically means I can get my rods out quick and efficiently without spooking anything should I decide to make a move.
Okay, so after a few hours of searching about in the boat, I've finally settled on an area where I'm going to fish this evening. Myself and Jim have found fish in 3 different areas of the lake today. The first area being where Jim fished last night and where he caught those couple of fish. There's still fish in that zone, and Jim's decided he's going to fish there tonight, give it another go, because having caught a couple of 30-pounders, I don't blame him, you know, there's every chance there could be more there. Then the next area we've seen fish is sort of in the middle part of the lake on the ski straight. This is the area of the thickest weed, and the fish are just enjoying the sunshine in the weed. And then the final place we've seen them is up here in this bay, which we call the dog leg. It's only a small bay in comparison to the size of the lake, quite secluded, gets the sun all day, and there's a few fish been sunning themselves right over in the far corner of the bay. Now I know from fishing this swim over the last few weeks, I've got a couple of productive spots on the margin, probably 50 yards away from where those fish are. So I'm going to just drop a couple of rods in here tonight and hopefully get a chance. Before I actually put the rods out, I'm going to get set up, and then I'm going to go and have a barbecue with Jim. I've ended up picking a swim that's probably as far away from Jim as I can possibly be, which is most antisocial of me. So I'm going to get set up, have a barbecue with Jim, enjoy the last of the sunshine, and then get back round here and get the rods out before dark, because I think the best chance of a bite will be in the hours of darkness or first light. So finish setting up, then go and get the barbie on.
Back on my own, got nowhere to go. It's like I'm dying without your light. I wanna go home, but I already know that I'm lost and alone tonight. Won't you come with me, my love? I wanna hear you say love is the only way. Let me hear you say.
Right, I'm getting towards, well, I'm 24 hours in now. It's probably getting on for 9, half 9 in the evening. I managed to get the rods back out about 8:30. A couple of the ski boats were out earlier, which meant I had to leave it a little while before I could get the rods back out. 2 of the rods I'm casting, so they're not such an issue, but one of the rods I'm dropping for the boat, and I'd just got them all sorted, nicely presented, and I was happy with them. And a tench has wiped out the rod that's getting dropped from the boat, so I'm going to be going back out in a minute or 2 to sort that back out. But it looks good. We've seen fish in the area, seen one show only a couple of rod lengths away from my right-hand rod, which is a rod that's dropped up against an island, and I've seen a couple of shows sort of towards the far side of the island as well. So it does look promising, and if I can keep a rod in the water from the tinkers, then hopefully there's a chance of another carp tonight.
You are the breeze, taking me higher, all I need. Oh, all I need.
What's lure?
I've reeled in.
No, how come? You sound like you need me to put the kettle on.
Yeah. I did have one. That's what I reeled in. There's no point fishing it.
What you had?
I'm pretty sure it's the fair bass fish.
Really?
I think so.
God, lad!
41.7. You can't tell if I'm being serious.
I can't, no.
I was shouting on the walkie-talkie.
H had got it,
Yeah. Jim! I was out in the boat. It's like, Jim, get out!
I don't know if I believe you or not. I still don't know, Lou Dog. You look too calm. He sounds too calm. Still don't know, because you've not sent me your normal picture of it in the sack, or the normal messages, or the normal missed call. But Harry is, yeah.
It's a banger. It's proper nice.
We'll get them in, mate, and let's go get it sorted, yeah?
Awesome.
Can't wait.
Can't wait to show you.
Can't wait.
Look at that!
Oh, mate!
Well, look at that. 41 pounds, 7 ounce of big, wild gravel pit mirror. The left-hand rod of the two that I put out last night rattled off about half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago. An epic battle. I was on the walkie-talkie shouting Jim and Harry, hoping that Harry would be able to get around and film, but I don't know what was wrong with the walkie-talkie. Harry didn't pick it up, but I was out in the boat, in and out of wee beds. You look at the size of its tail, it absolutely beasted me. Finally got it in, and I'm absolutely blown away. Oh, after what Jim caught yesterday, and turning up yesterday to be greeted by that, and then to get my hands on one this morning, what a session. What an absolute session me and Jim are having. Incredible. Oh, I've got to put it down.
If you're moving on to somewhere big, and I class big lakes as sort of 80, 90 acres upwards, don't be overawed by the size of it. Mentally split it into sections and use your abilities and your experience to decide which of those sections you're going to be able to find the fish in initially, off the weather conditions, using your eyes. You know, if you can use a boat like we can, use the boat, or just make sure that you don't let it overwhelm you, because it can be a little bit imposing.
Unfortunately, Jim, he didn't have anything that night. Being the angler he is, he knew he needed to move yesterday, and same routine as the day before. He's in the boat, he's looking. I've done the same, spent the day out in the boat looking again.
Right, after a really quiet night for me last night, I've moved down onto this point area which separates the main body of the lake from the ski straight. Got some lovely shallow ground on a point behind us where we saw fish yesterday, prepped a few areas, and there's clearly fish in the weed now. I'm going to get everything sorted. I'm going to change a few tactics around because of the nature of the bottom and the shallower depths and bits and pieces. So I'm going to make a few tactical changes, get a bit of bait in, but because the fish are here, I'm not going to rush in like a bull in a china shop. I'm going to take my time and make sure I get the rods out properly without spooking them, get everything settled when hopefully it will generate as a chance later on. Right, I said about changing tactics, and this is what I've switched to. I've gone from the helicopter setup, which is kind of my go-to for 90% of my fishing really, to the lead clip. And I've gone for a lead clip and a 5-ounce lead, still on a submerged leader. The reason for the change is the spot out here that this is going to be going onto is so clean and it's on a gravelly slope. So I want to make sure everything's flush on the lake bed and the leader can lay back up it. 5-ounce lead will obviously help the hook home on the take, should we be fortunate enough to get one. And I've changed to a 20-pound Illusion hook link, to a wide gate beat point bottom bait set up. It's on a D rig, and what that is 3/4 of a bottom bait tipped with a bit of pop up, just so that it balances out and just counteracts the weight of the hook. So hopefully it will sit flush on the lake bed with the hook bait hovering just above it. It's caught me a lot of fish in the past, and this is the kind of situation that I love using this kind of setup in. So hopefully it'll do what it needs to do for us later. Having a bit of a barbecue with Lou and Harry, and literally just finished food, so sort of 8 o'clock-ish. One of the rods I'd hand placed absolutely melted off. No, we're coming, we're slow. Yeah, we're moving. The right-hand rod, which I waded out, has absolutely ripped off. Lewis's famous words were, "Jim, I think you're about due a tench," and it's absolutely melted off. We've managed to get it moving out of the weed. Come on. Yeah, one thing I would say with situations like this is when they get weeded, don't panic. You know, that was just about keeping steady pressure on, making sure you keep a tight line, keep in contact and keep the pressure on, and 9 times out of 10 they'll end up in the net just like that. Come on! Oh mate. Right, here we go. 23 pounds 11 ounces of stunning big pit mirror carp, 100 and odd acres of lake, and I've caught it under the rod tips from a spot where I've actually waded the rig into position. They're all hard earned and they're all special here, and I'm absolutely blown away with this one. Absolutely blown away. What a character. The importance of prep work is massive, absolutely massive. Be that spot finding and having everything noted down in your phone or written down somewhere, to prepping areas with bait. You know, can't do it everywhere because of how busy some lakes are and bits and pieces. But on the bigger lakes, there's more chance that you can do that.
Just a regular introduction. I'm not talking about silly high quantities, like, you know, I'm not putting in 15 kilos of boilies a week. It's nothing like that. Probably a couple of 3 kilos of boilies a week, but it's that consistency, you know, 2-3 times a week, just trickling bait on areas so that the fish get used to coming back and feeding. And
make sure if it's a water that's close enough to home to you to be able to go regularly and trickle bait in on a regular basis, that will do you the world of good compared to turning up once a month and fishing over a big bed of bait. If you can get down every 3-4 days and trickle a bit in on a regular basis, that will keep fish visiting areas without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I think probably after the 3rd session, when I'm actually fishing, I'm just putting boilies out and then a big pop up on a hinge rig over the top, and yeah, touch wood, I think I've had probably 3 tench in 6-7 nights of fishing, so I don't think that's too bad considering the amount of tench that are in here, so yeah. Well, good morning. Final morning for me and Jim. And been getting liners for about just over an hour on the same rod as I caught the big one from yesterday. And it's just absolutely one-tonered. I've hooked it over here and it's now up there. I think it's going around this margin. I'm going to have to get in and walk along the bank. Hello. Absolute wild animals in this lake. They don't, you know, many of them probably never even seen a hook. And, so the first time they suck one of my boilies in and feel a hook, and then the resistance of a lead, it's unbelievable. But honestly, that must be over 100 yards, easily over 100 yards away from where it's actually hooked. Levery one. There we go. And she's in the net. Oh, what a battle. I tell you, absolute powerhouse of a fight that. Wow. Really, really dark fish, and you'll see when we get it out, a very unique tail. The top half of its tail's all folded over. Proper cool, proper cool. Well, this is a right character. Big old floppy tail, huge fins, all weathered and weird bits of like, I don't know, like growths. Like when you look at the pecs, they've just got like extra skin growing on them. Obviously a male fish, milting on the unhooking mat, skin's all rough like sandpaper. It's no wonder he absolutely beasted me on the fight. Its fins and its tail, it's just an absolute powerhouse. What a great way to end my session. Yeah, I don't expect another bite. The bite time sort of, we're in it now. The rod's lent up against the bivvy, so I don't think there's another chance. But if this is the last one for me, then, well, what a great way for me to finish. Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna get this one back and yeah, have a well-earned victory cup of tea, a nice bit of porridge to start the day.
Personally, it's been a mega session, but seeing that fish Lou had as well, that's just one of them moments that you love going fishing for. You were good mates on an awesome lake, and seeing fish like that, you know, it's just incredible. I love being able to photograph fish like that for other people, and to see Lou smile holding it has absolutely made the trip. You know, that scaly 30-pounder I had that was a fish of my dreams, and then to see Lou with that, yeah, it's made it a top trip.
We said, you know, we planned this a long time in advance. We talked about it, and we've both been coming down and pre-baiting and still doing our normal fishing that we do, but baiting up when we leave, making an extra trip to come and put some more bait in. Yeah, we'd said one fish between us, you know, in a lake where there's whatever, one fish for every 2 or 3 acres of water, you're not expecting a hit. One fish between us for the cameras would be brilliant. And yeah, to get what we had, 2 each, brilliant. Yeah, hopefully it comes across well on the film and people see the effort and just how nice these fish are, and the surroundings and yeah, everything. It's just brilliant. And yeah, can't wait for episode 3. Wherever that may be, waiting for Harry to confirm who I'm with and where I'm going.